Welcome, people, to the podcast What Happened with the Language with your friends
Luis.
and Jimena.
In 1974, a Chilean refugee family went to live in a small provincial New Zealand town where there was work but no opportunity at all. They used their mother tongue, Spanish. Their 8-year-old daughter, Crystal, quickly realized that her knowledge of Spanish made her seem of her school friends, and she rapidly refused to use the Spanish, even at home. Language shift from Spanish to English for Crystal was almost complete by the age of 13. She retained some understanding of Spanish, but she refused to speak it under any circumstance.
With this example, we can see that people have to adapt to new contexts. We can call this a demographic factor. Jimena, do you think that if you change your place to live, your way of speaking will also change?
Yes. Okay, the example is maybe more relation of course for this topic, and also due this of demographic factors. The change or modification without the language has to do a lot. For example, with where you live, if you live in a rural area, the lexical and expressions and use will be different from other person who lives in a city. It will also have to do with the context in which you live and what type of people with whom you socialize for the day and day, since you will be adapting little by little to all that, and with time you will be taking and adapting to the same language with which your daily context will involve.
Well, with this example, what is the importance of learning a new language? Learning other languages allows you to enrich life, experience new ideas, exercise your mind, benefit from work cultural diversity. Maybe you work in transnational company, as well as the ability to express yourself to others in an understandable way, thus increasing social relationships. It is an advantage to move to a foreign country because that way you learn the language better, as in the example of Crystal. But what do you think about this, Jimena? In this example, Crystal made English more predominant or majority than Spanish?
Yes, and taking this point, Luis, we could be rescued the topic of the majority and minority language. What I mean by this? That your majority language will always be the one that is used more in your daily life, and the minority language will be the one that is used of little as the after of your daily life, and therefore we will always make more use the majority language that predominates in your daily life, which will make you have to adapt to new society and where we are, and will bring that change to a new language.
Yep, learning a language and you see it in your daily life make it easier to master it, but you also move your native language a bit. Although there are factors that make you learn another language. One of the main reasons for learning a language is economic and politics, but many people learn a second language and lose their native language, and each time the native languages are displaced and forgotten. And every time the native languages are disappearing, because we worry about learning a foreign language to travel, to work, to go to another country and have a better life. But learning a new language makes us grow, be better. But with this, we are displacing our native language. We are forgetting them and they are in a danger of disappearing. Obviously, we learn new things from a foreign country, but we forget our tradition, our native language, and all this to have a better quality of life and be better day by day. I think that in addition to learning a foreign language, we should also learn a native language. Learning something that belongs to us so that we can share it with foreign countries. Being trilingual and teaching our culture or our native language to other foreign cultures is also a great advantage. But many people are forgetting our native language and displacing them without taking into account how important they are. All this of displacing a native language is usually known as low variety. Why? Because it is a language that we only use in the country, but in small towns, and that only in those small towns do they speak that native language. But when those people go to the city or they have to use something more formal, and it is known as high variety because it is a language that is spoken throughout the country and that they have to learn to communicate. A clear example of this is Mexico. There are many towns or communities where indigenous language is spoken, but it is only spoken in the town. When these people go to the city, they have to use Spanish to communicate. So this is where we see that the native or indigenous language is appearing because indigenous people have to use Spanish to communicate. Although many people think that learning a new language has more advantage than disadvantages, and that may be true. You just have a thing that we are displacing our native language and sometimes we don't see it. But I mentioned it before, speaking two or more languages is a great advantage. But what are those advantages? That advantage of speaking a second language should be obvious. Easy to travel, work, make friends, connect with other cultures, interact with a larger number of people, etc. And since words are what we use to describe what we see, the more words we know, the better our perception will be. When we learn to speak a language other than a mother tongue, we also learn to broaden our view of the world. But beyond the linguistic benefits, research has tried to go further. The current theory for many years about bilingualism or multilingualism also says that there are certain disadvantages because bilingualism is associated with higher brain abilities, improved memory and thinking, greater social understanding. Well, those are some of the advantages of being bilingual. There are even more, but we'll talk about that in our second part of the podcast.
Well, as you call her, this is a very extensive topic That was all for today. We hope you like it and that it awakened your interest about the importance of learning a new language and what factors for you to learn more language. That was all for today. Thank you very much for joining us and see you in the second part of What Happens with the Language. Goodbye.